Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Since the beginning, even before Luffy was born, there was a prophecy about someone who would return. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. During the Roger Pirate's journey, Kazuki Oden recorded in his diary that upon arriving at Fishman Island, Roger and he were able to hear the Sea Kings talking about a birth that would happen in 25 years, along with the new Poseidon. This detail is in chapter 968, when Oden narrates his journey around the world and mentions that they heard a voice they couldn't fully understand. This moment might seem isolated, but it's part of something much larger. Imu has always known about Luffy. The prophecy about a return was never fully explained, but considering everything we know now, it seems clear that it was referring to Joy Boy. The question is, if this prophecy managed to reach Roger, a pirate who was just starting to understand the world, then it's impossible that Imu and those who govern Mary Joas didn't know about it. After all, they've been at the top of the world for centuries, controlling information, erasing names, and ensuring certain events never repeat. If there was a prophecy about the return of Joy Boy, then they knew about it. What makes this story even stranger is what happened with the Gomu Gomu no Mi. In chapter 1044, when Luffy awakens his fruit, the Gorosei comments that this wasn't an ordinary Akuma no Mi, but the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. They also mention that this fruit had been avoided by the world government for centuries, but they never managed to capture it. This raises a pretty obvious question. If the world government wanted this fruit so badly, then why was it being transported so carelessly to the point of being stolen by Shanks? In chapter 1017, Who's Who tells that he was responsible for escorting the fruit, but it was stolen, which led to him losing everything. He doesn't mention any great secrets about the fruit at that time, only that it was an item the government wanted to protect. The issue is the government never treats something truly important carelessly. If this fruit was so essential to them, why entrust its escort to someone like Who's Who was just a mere CP9 agent? Why not send an admiral or someone with a higher level of authority? What seems more logical is that this fruit was never a priority target. Perhaps maybe Imu never truly cared about recovering it because he already knew what was going to happen. If Imu knew about the prophecy of Joy Boy, then he already had an idea that someone was going to emerge with this fruit. And more than that, he might have allowed it to happen. The world government doesn't act impulsively. They wait, observe, and analyze what's happening before making a final decision. When Monkey D. Luffy appeared, initially, he wasn't treated as a major threat. He was a rookie pirate who started making noise in the East Blue and then the Grand Line, but nothing that truly shook the top of the world. If Imu always knew someone was going to emerge with this fruit, then it makes sense that he let the events unfold naturally. And this brings us to a very specific moment in chapter 906. When Reverie was about to begin, we see Imu holding a bounty poster of Luffy. The scene is brief but powerful. Imu walks to the room where the empty throne is, and around him are several torn posters, including Blackbeard's and Shirahoshi's. This means he wasn't just looking at Luffy, but analyzing various figures from the world. But the main question is, if Luffy was the biggest threat to him, why didn't he act immediately? In chapter 908, the Gorosei kneels before Imu and asks what light should be erased from the world. If Luffy was the priority, this would have been the perfect moment to eliminate him. But that's not what happened. The order Imu gave wasn't to erase Luffy at that moment. This means that even with all of Luffy's growth, even after he defeated powerful enemies and began changing the world's balance, Imu still didn't see him as the biggest priority. This makes it seem like Imu not only knew about Luffy, but he wanted Luffy to move forward. This becomes even more curious when we remember what happened in chapter 1053. When Luffy finally awakens his true form of his Akuma no Mi and defeats Kaido, the world government could have done something to stop him at that moment. But instead, they just changed his bounty and recognized his new status as an emperor. This detail is important because it means that even after Luffy reached the level of Nika, they didn't treat him as the main enemy. This leads us to another question. Why did Imu need the return of Joy Boy? Perhaps, who knows, Imu himself knows that something bigger is about to happen. In chapter 1085, when Imu reveals himself to Cobra, he talks about a promise made a long time ago. Cobra mentions the name Lily, and Imu reacts in a way that suggests this name holds immense weight. The detail is that if there is a promise made in the past, then perhaps Imu is waiting for certain events to repeat. This fits with the idea that Imu may be waiting for Joy Boy for a specific reason. He didn't stop Luffy from moving forward, didn't treat his awakening as the biggest threat, and is still observing the events of the world unfold. unfold. If Imu's true enemy was Joy Boy, he would have tried to prevent his return from the start, would have done everything to stop the fruit from reaching Luffy, would have acted more aggressively during the awakening. But none of this happened. What seems to be the case is that Imu doesn't want to stop Joy Boy from returning. On the contrary, he wants it to happen. Perhaps, who knows, because he himself needs Joy Boy. For some reason we don't yet understand. It could be that this promise made in the past involves a cycle that needs to repeat, an event that needs to happen again for something bigger to be resolved. And if that's the case, then Luffy has always been on Imu's radar. From the moment he got the Gomu Gomu no Mi to the moment he awakened his true form, he was watched, analyzed, allowed to advance. He was never erased from history, like others who became direct threats to the world government. This means that in some way, Imu has always known about him, perhaps even before he himself knew who he really was. And that still leaves one final question in the air. If Imu wants Joy Boy to return, then what will be the true purpose of this return? If Imu has always known about Luffy and instead of eliminating him, allowed him to progress, then the main question is no longer why didn't he stop him, but rather why did he need this to happen? When we look at the story of One Piece, everything seems to indicate that the world government has always acted to maintain the status quo. From the burning of Ohara to the elimination of any threat to the secret of the Lost Century, they do everything to prevent certain information from coming to light. But if Joy Boy is one of these threats, why allow him to be reborn? In chapter 1085, when Cobra mentions the name of Lily, Imu reacts in a strange way. He not only gets upset, but acts as if that name holds some personal significance. This reinforces the idea that Imu was directly involved in the past and that there is something about the Lost Century that connects him to this story in a much deeper way than we imagined. The most important detail is that in chapter 967, when Roger and his crew arrive at Laugh Tale and discover the whole truth, Roger laughs. He says he was born too early, that he can't do anything, but that at some point, someone else would come. If we considered this possibility, then it might be that the ancient kingdom was directly linked to Joy Boy, and that Imu has a personal reason for wanting this cycle to repeat. Perhaps in some way he needs Joy Boy to complete something that was left undone in the past. And this is so that Imu himself can reveal something that benefits him through Joy Boy's actions. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.